Daymond, great to see you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me again.
It's always good to see you because you have all these great tips about the secret for success. And you have this book called
The Power of Broke.
Define it for me.
You know, and I was concerned that people would, you know, take it maybe the wrong way. Say, hey, I don't want to highlight, you know, that I may not have the resources I need in life, or that I don't want to hear your story when you were broke. But that is not the concept, right? Okay. The concept of the book is that, you know, broke brings out that person in you that is going to strive harder for various ways. And the people that operate the power of broke more than anybody in the world are the people that are actually successful. You know, if you look at the Wall Street Journal's top 1,000 wealthiest people, if they list them, it's going to always pan out like this. Over 65% of them, or 60% of them, over 60% of them were self-made men and women. That means they were broke. Right? And we know the stats, the generational wealth only passes over one generation. We've seen the stories of the rappers, the ball players, the lotto winners that are broke 3 years after the league or when they win the lottery because they don't have the mentality of the power broken, and that's what the book's about.
You really have to keep that mentality, however. I mean, you've had a lot of success since you were broke, right? Yeah. So how do you maintain that drive?
Well, you maintain that drive with a bunch of fundamentals. So the drive initially is what got me to this level in life. And the drive was the fact that because I didn't have many resources, I didn't have a lot of options. I had to, when I came out with FUBU, I focused on hats as long as I can afford hats. And if I couldn't afford to go to shirts, I didn't have a way to go to shirts. I couldn't hire other people because I didn't have any money. So the people that I brought with me were the people that wanted to be part of a movement, and they weren't being paid to say yes. And I would have to find out who the problem solvers are or the problem creators. So people came and went. You know, so I put in the book, though, most importantly, not only myself, 15 other CEOs, globally recognized people that all activated the power of broke, like Kevin Plank, who's about to do probably $4 or $5 billion annually off of Under Armour, and Mark Burnett, who owns our show. So it's not just me. It's a method. It's a way of life. It's a way to think.
Okay, a lot of people know your story, but there's still people out there who don't. So let's just refresh. You started FUBU.
I started a company called FUBU back in '89. I closed it 3 times up to 1992 because I ran out of capital, but I only ran out of $500, $1,000, $2,000. If I would have had $20,000, I would still be paying it back, right?
Right.
Then I have 3 partners, Keith, Carl, and Jay, but I always had another partner who never stuck around with us, right? There was about 6 or 7 of them. Then I grew up to the point where I grew the company, a lot of relationships with artists, actors.
Right. You were on music video sets, trying to get them
to wear it, begging them. They would slam the door in my face, but it didn't matter. If I had just one person wear it one time every month, it was a win for me. But to activate the power of broke, you have to be doing something you love. I would have paid to be on that video set to watch those amazing artists create that amazing music. I go ahead and then I create this thing where people are all looking for this product and they're thinking it's the biggest thing in the world.
F is for all the fatties, where my
Do you want me to?
yeah, but see boogie.
Entertainment.
Yeah, so we gonna do this.
Yeah, girl, you taste like a Cinnabon, so sweet from the thighs to the feet.
Meanwhile, I'm a waiter at Red Lobster with only 10 T-shirts that I keep putting in videos and taking out and putting back in. I don't have anything, right? But I had to then use OPM. I had to find a way to use OPM.
And define that.
Well, OPM, a lot of people have a big mistake and make a big mistake and think OPM is other people's money, right? But OPM could be other people's manufacturing, other people's manpower, other people's mind power, other people's marketing. And that's what I was doing with the platform of music. I was using other people's marketing, right? Then I started to work and I had all these companies wanting me. So then I struck a deal with Samsung and used other people's manufacturing. And then Timberland and all the other companies out there at that time, not owned by the same people now, were making big mistakes and ignoring this growing market of hip-hop. This disruptive technology like Twitter and Facebook are today, or Snapchat. That's what hip-hop was before. Right. It was our way we were communicating throughout the music. So when they started to ignore this community, I used OPM. I took advantage of other people's mistakes.
You knew that from the beginning because you were right in Hollis.
Right.
And you realized the impact that the emerging minority majority had on culture, on consumerism, on everything. How long is it going to take for a lot of people in the business community to see that?
Well, you know what? You look at the difference. You look at the people who are in command of generally distribution and manufacturing. They range from 40 years old to 60 years old. They're usually not really taking advantage of social media and the internet and things of that nature. And the people that are creating the trends and are buying everything are 16 to 30, right? So you're looking at this big gap. Now, these individuals generally are not taking advantage of it, right? But you know who's taking advantage of this gap? The ones that are 16 to 30 that understand technology purely, and they're not a manufacturer or distributor of anything. They don't hold any inventory. You see, if you're 35,000 feet in the air trying to make decisions and you're never in a club and you're trying to sell clothes, then you're most likely not going to know what the next trend is. But if you're selling technology and you're on your computer and you're seeing everything happening, you know where the next trend is going. So as we see, some of the biggest companies in the world don't have inventory anymore. Uber doesn't have inventory, Facebook doesn't have inventory, iTunes doesn't have inventory, Airbnb doesn't have inventory. And those are those people who have figured out and sliced out that middle and has the ability to manufacture, but also the ability to talk to those people who are consuming the goods, which are the 18 to 34s. You know, everybody thinks that 55-year-olds are consuming goods. I don't know a 55-year-old person who bought 6 pairs of sneakers this month, but go check out the people who are 25 and 30 years old. They're consuming goods.
And how do you stay up with that because you're not in that age bracket?
You know what? Shark Tank really is what put me or educated me, because I would have been still the guy. Let me make a clothing line. Hopefully a store will buy it. Hopefully somebody will wander by and buy the T-shirt. But as I started to see 7, 8 years of all these people changing, doing business, doing $10 million off their couch with a cell phone, I started to understand again and again and again how this world is converting, and I started to maximize it.
Okay, so your first season of Shark Tank, you took a loss, right?
Yeah, 750, I believe. Yeah.
Okay, so that was a pretty big one. But you've gained a lot also intangibly just by the network. I would imagine that you've been able to tap into because of your growing hyper visibility. Is that true?
You know, absolutely. So, you know, Shark Tank's really been amazing for me in so many different ways. Yes, my image, you know, prior to that, you know, people thought that I was baggy jeans guy, making guy, and they didn't think if I knew business. So now every single person watching right now has been put into a box at some time in their life. But the fundamentals of business, no matter if you're selling baggy jeans, you know, soap or whatever it is, right, toothpaste, it's still the fundamentals of business. So people started to understand that, number one, I had a business mind. Number two, they started to understand that FUBU was never about just the color, it was about a culture, and that I am about inclusiveness. Also, what it did for me is that it made me feel really good about being a business person. You know, there's that old theory that an entrepreneur is somebody that kind of sets your house on fire, then comes to sell you a water hose, right, to put it out. But when we started realizing that Shark Tank is one of the top shows watched kids 5 to 15 years old, and parents watch, one of the top shows watched with parents and kids together, we started to realize that we're a small part of a bigger thing that is like changing the world's perception of business, influencing these young, amazing individuals who are going to take over our country and our planet, and bringing families together and showing people their dreams can happen. So it's all around been an amazing, amazing time.
The last time I saw you, we did an interview at the National Association of Broadcasters.
Yeah.
And you were just swarmed with people, people with business plans. Daymond, can I get to you? Can I get to you?
Yeah.
What advice do you give people about, you know, trying to get on the show?
I can't, you know what? I try to give them advice about doing it whether the show exists or not. You know, when taking those small steps, because you look at the show, I believe there's 40,000 applicants waiting, right? We're only going to see at the end of the day 200.
But they think if they meet you, they can get on the show, and that's not true.
And that's not it. You know, listen, and even if they get on the show and they meet me and we do a deal, I don't have the silver bullet. I always joke and say, if I knew every single thing, then FUBU would be called Ralph Lauren, right? It's still going to be their job to do what they have to do. And the best companies I have are people that, and CEOs, that figure it out. And if they don't figure it out, they're busting their butts so hard, I want to jump in with them. But the ones who think that, oh, I got to deal with Daymond John, well, he's going to change everything. I'm running my business. I don't have time for yours.
And isn't that someone who really is looking for a shortcut anyway? I mean, it helps your business, but certainly you have to have the fundamentals first before you go on the show for it to really pay off.
100%.
Okay. So you went to Cuba with the president.
I did.
To talk to you about the president and what it's like to work with him having that entrepreneurial mind. Would he have made a good entrepreneur?
I think so. I think that I think he shows it every day by his efforts for entrepreneurship. So my appointment is I'm a presidential ambassador for global entrepreneurship. And it's myself and many other amazing individuals, another about 20 individuals, Steve Case, Brian Chesney, who owns Airbnb, the gentleman who owns the Kind Bar, Tory Burch, and many of us. And the president he has 3 objectives for us. Number 1, to show people domestically and internationally how that entrepreneurship exists. It's not that they don't know it exists, because people have been bartering and trading their entire lives, but show that you can actually create a company. Number 2, show them how to get access to capital. And as well as access to the world, because you can now open up a smartphone and you can touch the world. And number 3, to inspire them. The reason why he has this agenda is that the president believes that, you know, when somebody doesn't have hope and they don't have resources, whether here or domestically, I mean, or internationally, they let sometimes people prey on them who have other agendas that can potentially hurt many of us. And that people, at the end of the day, they just want to be able to feed their family, feed themselves. And when you give them the opportunity to do that, they're going to be somebody who's a contributor to the world and not somebody who's detrimental. And that's why I joined him, you know, in Cuba to spread the word to all these amazing Cubans who Airbnb opened up 4,000 homes, you know, in Cuba over the last year. And there's a lot of change going on there. And, you know, that's what the president wanted to do. And here's my ambassador coin.
Oh, wow.
All right, we have our own challenge coins. That's from, that's my ambassador coin. It's going to be worth about $20 on eBay.
This is official, man.
That is official.
And we have a couple people who have questions from my social media audience.
Sure.
I want to make sure I get those in before we finish up. Julie Feldman, she asks, how has success and wealth changed your personality?
I think that's a good question. I think that it's changed my personality because I have little tolerance for people that aren't doing the right thing, and I have a lot of tolerance for people who are doing amazing things. I think that would be the main thing. You know, when I was young, I was just somebody who would listen to everybody, hang out with everybody who cares, you know, and I do that. I pick my associates and I pick my time very, very, very carefully.
A limited amount of time, right? LaSayla Richardson wants to know, how has your network and contacts changed as you've grown? So the quality of your network.
You know, it's the same thing as we all grow up. You know, we start to realize that, you know, some of the things that maybe not in our best interest are things we shouldn't do. And the whole theory of birds of a feather flock together is real. But, you know, one thing I do realize about my network is relationship capital is the biggest wealth you can ever have. And, you know, you can give me a lot of money, but if I have no way to exercise and people to do the job, then I may not really ever be able to get it done. But relationship capital with many people that you know, have wealth, they tap into it. And then the people who lose wealth are a lot of those who don't tap into relationship capital. I still call the buyer from Macy's and other people, and even though I've been doing business for 20 years and they physically don't come to the office, I call them and say thank you. I still write a handwritten note to people. They'll always remember that, right? And so I think that, you know, my network and how I deal with my network is really in that sense. And I'm very humbled and honored when I know people and they're working with me, and I never forget that. You got to put the person first.
Okay, one final question. When you were doing FUBU in the early stages, you were living in your mom's basement and you were working at Red Lobster.
Yes. Yep.
Have you ever thought about doing a deal with them?
You know what? You're pretty good. I never thought about actually doing a deal with them. And
you're a great ambassador for them.
Maybe
right?
I should. You know, I didn't get a chance to go to college, but I learned a lot of my my business acumen from Red Lobster, because they would issue these reports that are bigger than the Bible, and nobody would ever read them besides the managers. But I was a waiter. I thumb through those things and I would look, oh, well, I guess, you know, a steak is a loss leader, but you're paying an average of $18 a steak by processing it, but they're going to make more money off the appetizers, the desserts, and the beverages, right? And they're going to upsell those things. Oh, well, if a shrimp scampi has 12 shrimp in it, if you take one out, they're going to save about $30 million, but nobody will notice the difference in that, and put a piece of kale in there, or how to get, you know, coupons or bring people in because of those biscuits, right?
Right.
And it's not a bait and switch. Give them as much as you want, because they'll come there for that, but they're going to end up buying something anyway. Just give it to them. So a lot of those things are things that that I learned working within that corporation.
Daymond John, great to see you again.
Thank
buddy.
you, man. Appreciate
Thanks
it.
a lot.